Hi there. I wanted to talk about resilience today. So it has been coming up, and it started with one of my clients who said at the end of our session, the end of sessions is always when the real meat, the real gold is dropped. Happens all the time. So at the end of our session, she said, I forget how she put it. I keep struggling with or thinking about, or resilience keeps coming up, is what she said. And I said, oh, how so? And she said, well, I'm resisting it. I've been told a lot over the years that I'm a resilient person, and I don't like that. And I said, well, why would you not like being a resilient person? That seems like a positive thing. And so what she said is, I feel like it's a bad thing because it's too harsh. She said, it means you're cold, like you've turned something off to protect yourself, and that you're hard and you've developed a strong shell. For her, she spent her corporate life functioning at a really high level in a man's world. And she said she had been told that she was a ball buster. And so she put on this tough protective shell to be strong in a man's world. And in her head, that's what resilience is tied to. And I thought that was a really fascinating way to look at resilience and a perspective that I hadn't seen before. And then Elise Loehnen, who I love and had the pleasure and honor of doing a workshop with in May in North Carolina, along with her friend Courtney Smith. And Elise has a podcast called Pulling the Thread. And so, as is the case with topics that I should be addressing, my client says this, and then I hear it on the podcast. So Elise had a guest, Soraya Chemaly. Took me a second to get that pronunciation. It's Soraya Chemaly, I'm pretty sure, who just wrote a book called The Resilience Myth. And so it was a real paradigm shift for me, and it feels very important. And so I wanted to share that with you. So how Elise, it's a wonderful podcast, and I highly recommend it. Pulling the Thread, and it's The Resilience Myth. I'll link it wherever you're watching. I'll link it in the comments. But how Elise summarized it from her perspective is that this idea of resilience is an individual idea of strength and fortitude prevailing over all that comes, versus the reality of resilience, which is just a part of who we are. And the reality is that we rely on, as Elise put it, these interconnected webs of care. So resilience isn't, as my client said, developing this harsh shell and being hard, but resilience is relying on this interconnected web of care, which I love. And she says it's not mind over matter, and mental strength. And I like this way of looking at it too, it's not mind over matter. Now listen, I'm still working this out because this feels like a big paradigm shift to me. And so I'm playing around with it. So I'm not here to tell you this is how we think of resilience and this is how it should be. This is me sharing what I've come across and how I'm looking at it. And I'm really interested in hearing what you think about resilience too. So share in the comments, because I'm really interested in this discussion. So she says, not mind over matter and mental strength. And that makes me think of parts work that I do with my clients, in that you have a part of you. We all have different parts of us that come forward at different times. And so it's not that we create this harsh, hard shell and that's who we are. That is a part of us. When that's called for, we can create that harsh, hard shell. if that's called for in a certain situation. But that's not who we are. It's just a part of us that comes forward in a situation. And so I think where my client was coming from and how I'm starting to see it is that resilience is just a thing. Like, everyone has it. It's just a thing. And it's not that we need to be resilient, but what part of ourselves are we calling on in certain situations? What part is called for to come forth? And then Elise also said it's more about flexibility, the ability to ask for help, to understand our own needs, and to listen to ourselves. And I loved looking at resilience that way, because that's not harsh and hard. It's flexibility, ability to ask for help, understand your needs, listen to yourself. And she goes on to say that these we think of as more feminine qualities versus the more what we think of as typically masculine qualities, which are like strong, hard shell. So I think that's another layer of it that is fascinating to me. And Elise also used the word harsh when she was describing it, like my client did. She said it's a harsh way to look at it, looking at that we have this individual strength and fortitude that will conquer all. That's a very harsh way of looking at it, and it's hard on ourselves. It's exhausting to look at it that way and to try to embody that perspective of resilience. And she summed it up by saying, I agree with this, that she really feels that we need to lean into this culture of care, of caring for each other and ourselves. And that is a core human need of being with each other and being with ourselves. And that is the meat and the truth of resilience, rather than this harsh, hard shell. So those are just some thoughts that I've run across about resilience and what I've been thinking of as resilience, and how I'm changing. Well, I don't know, how I'm examining my thoughts on resilience. So let me know what you think. I'm interested in hearing.